Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is good to be with you today. Welcome to our this month's webinar on Microsoft Copilot, Microsoft's artificial
Devices.
intelligence companion. That's me. I'm Jeremy Charney. I'm the founder of Tobin Solutions and just excited to be with you all here today. Looks like we got about 20 people on so far and maybe about 40 registered. So we'll see. I bet a few other people will be joining us as we come along here. I'm going to give you a bit of background today on artificial intelligence, a little bit of just a little bit of background on what artificial intelligence is, so you understand what we're all kind of talking about, because it's for us, it's important to get a little background on the technology. We're going to talk about some of the risks around artificial intelligence and talk about some of the opportunities. And we're going to be speaking specifically around Microsoft's product Copilot, which is what they call your everyday AI companion. So, first of all, what is artificial intelligence? If you've been any of our webinars before on this, we've been talking on it for a bit. You've probably seen it all kinds of places. You've seen it in movies and books and all kinds of things, and you use it every day in different ways. But really, what is it? And really what we talk about here is and what we most people think of, it's that simulation of human intelligence. We could, I suppose, do like an artificial intelligence and simulate ant intelligence or, dog intelligence or something like that and see what, try and figure out what they are. But, we're people and we deal with the human language and things like that. So, we're looking about things that talk about learning, reasoning, problem solving, perception, and language understanding is a whole other area of AI and why it's gotten really interesting in the last couple of years. It is definitely making headlines everywhere. You're seeing all kinds of things, about a real popular artificial intelligence that made on the scene in the last year or so is something called ChatGPT. So people are using ChatGPT and different flavors of that by different companies to try it out and do different things. And look, OpenAI announces ChatGPT 4 claims it can beat 90% of humans on the SAT, passing the medical licensing exam, a creepy encounter with a journalist. So, it's an interesting topic in lots of ways too, because one of the things that's so interesting is not only is it so powerful, but, we always talk about powerful technologies, but it's pretty rare to have a technology that so closely uh, interacts with who we are as human beings and really is a technology of like a little bit of our humanness out there in the tech in the world in the form of technology. So it's very interesting on many fronts, philosophical fronts, and that I'm going to try and talk about what I know, what we don't know, and again what Microsoft is doing about it with Copilot. Um, why we're talking about this? I mean, it's out, people are using it, but there is, where are you with this? There's something called the Gartner hype cycle. Gartner is a company that does a lot of research and consulting for big business on trends and analysis of all kinds of things, especially things technology. And they have something called the hype cycle, right? We've been talking about we all use technologies. We all had experience with technologies over the years and what we were promised and what ultimately got delivered and by when. And so they kind of have this real simple model here of there's a technology trigger, you get the peak of inflated expectations, we go through our trough of disillusionment, a little bit of enlightenment to finally we get some productivity with what that is. And uh, you get a little more specific around it in the world of business. And really, what does that look like on there? And you could decide, where you think we are with AI. We could be in second generation products here. It could be, we might be on third generation products. We could be in the high growth phase. I mean, I don't know. There's all different ways to look at it. I would say we're definitely not at the plateau here. I think we're still somewhere up in the early adopters, maybe. I don't know. It's interesting. So, and when you see how Microsoft implemented Copilot, you can see how they rushed parts of it. And so that might again mean why, where it's a different part of the cycle here. But anyway, it's an interesting topic of where it fits because, where is this technology going? Um, A little bit more about background on the technology. There's a couple different types of artificial intelligence that exist that are the kind of the main categories. The one is called machine learning, and we call it a subset of artificial intelligence. And that's using data analysis and models for the computers to identify patterns and make decisions like we would want them to make. And a good example of that would be like Amazon's recommendation engine, where you go on and you search for something, and it uses machine learning based on what other people have said and reviews and likes and activity and other things to say, hey, this might be something we recommend, or hey, we looked at your past purchases. We've learned from that, and let's make some recommendations. I mean, people can do that, of course, but not at the scale Amazon can, and probably not at the same level. Amazon probably knows a lot more about you than some of your best friends. You also get something called deep learning. By the way, these pictures were all generated by AI. I told it to generate a picture of something like that. Um, but with deep learning, that's a more advanced subset of machine learning. And that's where it is trying to think more like deep learning, not just like what you like or don't like, and we'll just draw some quick conclusions for that, but how do we navigate a car through New York City during rush hour? How do we upload 1,000 photos to Google and then say, show me a picture of all my cats? So deep learning is a thing that can happen with all the data that we provide. That's another aspect of this. So again, if you've ever, and these are impacting your life all over the place. I mean, when you walk up, do certain things, and the door kind of knows you're there, not just because it senses you, but it knows that this time of day there's a lot more people coming in, and they can do different things with how doors open and close. I mean, there's so much you can do with all these things. So it's just a simple, silly example, but there's lots there. So this is where it really gets interesting, is the natural language processing. It used to be to talk to computers, you had to write in ones and zeros or a lot of fancy computer code. Now we've been able to kind of talk to things for a bit, asking our smart devices what time it is and what's the weather outside, and set an alarm, and who played who in a movie, and some of that. So there's some basic natural language processing. I mean, you can talk to it. It doesn't always know what to do with it, doesn't always get the context of what we're saying, but by and large, it understands a lot of what we say to it, and we can have conversations back and forth. So now, the computers can communicate with us on our level instead of us communicating with them on their level of the ones and zeros. So you get natural language processing as another type of AI, and you'll see where that really fits in with Copilot as we move forward. All of these types of artificial intelligence things that we're talking about kind of fit into the idea of this narrow artificial intelligence, meaning, your smart speaker is really just designed to just do that. It's not going to start vacuuming for you, or, it's not going to, um, uh, well, it can do a lot these days, right? the the art the smart speakers can, but like when you think about like the Amazon example and the making recommendations for you, that type of AI that they've got, which is sophisticated, no doubt, that's really all it can do. You can't take that AI and now say, okay, now use that and come up with a cure for a new disease. There's pieces of it that might overlap, but fundamentally that AI is a single purpose, narrow designed AI. And we have that all over our life, right? If you're typing on a keyboard on your phone and it starts predicting words for you of what to type, that's narrow artificial intelligence on your phone doing predictive typing for you. It thinks what you're going to say, not just based on the letters you type, but actually the context, grammar, what you're typing. So that's narrow. Where it gets interesting and more movie-like and more Copilot-like is where you get this generative artificial intelligence. So this is a narrow intelligence, meaning it's really designed to do one thing, but what it's designed to do is miraculous for some people, and that is that it can do new content, not just answer questions based on things you've trained it to do, but create new content in the form of text or images or sounds or animations. You can have artificial intelligence. You can say, create a movie about a rabbit who survives an accident and becomes the nicest bunny in the world. And it'll generate a movie based on that. It may not be a great movie, but it can do it. That's part of why you get with the strikes that were happening in Hollywood with the writer strikes and that. A lot of what they were fighting about was the generative AI stuff, like worrying if their jobs were going to go away, or that, not only can you do a generative AI, you can say create a poem, you can say create a poem that sounds like a pirate, and it'll do it in a pirate voice. But you could easily say, you know, do write a piece and write it in the form of some famous writer for a movie or something like that. Do it like Christopher Nolan or one of those people. Do it like a Marvel movie. So people get scared when that kind of stuff happens because, a lot of times it's good enough, and we're going to take a look at that here. But let's do a quick poll here. Let's see. Nope, we're going to hold off on the poll. We're going to go back. We're going to finish on a couple more slides. So that's generative AI. And we're going to give an example of what that looks like and how Copilot is a generative AI. The specific type of generative AI that Copilot is, it's called a large language model, an LLM. Basically, what that means is it's a generative AI in the form of a chat device, like a chatbot. We've all chatted with computers back and forth or with other people. So they put a front end like that. There's other ways of doing it, but that's one way that's real popular. And behind it, they've trained it. They have told this large language model, hey, go look at all these encyclopedias, go look at the internet, go look at these museum websites, go look at the New York Times, which the New York Times is suing some of these, by the way, because they're saying there's some copyright infringement. But anyway, they're being trained on lots and lots of information. In some cases, generally, like just all information, but you can also have LLMs that are created around specific technologies or specific pieces of information. Like if you were somebody that designed snowblowers and you had all kinds of documentation on designing snowblowers, you could create a large language model for just your snowblower documentation and ask questions of it and chat with it and have it summarize and create proposals and do all kinds of fun things that I'm going to show you in a bit. So the general artificial intelligence, this is the one that is more like in the movies, right? This is the robot, the nice robot that comes up and how can I help you? And, oh, you'd like some coffee? Great, let me do that. Or you go into work and you talk to your artificial assistant and your artificial assistant laid out your whole day for you. And you say, do this, do that. You talk to it like it's an expert. We're not quite there yet with general artificial intelligence, but that in some ways is kind of the holy grail for what people are looking for, right? Wouldn't it be great to have this brain that we control in the palm of our hands, that we can just ask it to anything and and contextualize it based on anything, not just, something simple that we trained it on, but really just ask it anything, have it theorize, have it create, and basically act like a human, at least, in some people's minds. So, but that's up for you to decide. Someone's asking about the PowerPoint. We're going to be doing you're going to get a survey later. And when you get the survey and fill that out and let us know how we did, there will be a copy of the PowerPoint with that and a link to the video on YouTube. So that's general AI. This is the super scary AI. This is the one that has a lot of smart people in fear. I'm one of those, not actually the smart person, but one of the people that are in fear. And that, we could create something that's super intelligent, maybe more intelligent than us. And then what that means, I don't know. What does that mean for mankind if, these devices can now do everything and anything better than us? Now there's the doing part. There's the, do they have hands in the world, and, what are they connected to, and all of that, and all the movies where they're connected, the army connects them to the missile silos and all that kind of stuff. But really, I mean, it's not improbable. Lots of people are coming up with laws. The EU just passed a law. The European Union just passed a law on artificial intelligence. I think there's been some executive actions from the White House on it. You've got um, uh, what do they call those? Like protest type things being signed on to by lots of scientists. Um, you got people like Elon Musk who, can have your own thoughts about Elon Musk. But anyway, he says it's an existential threat. I mean, there's just so much going on with it. So I don't know what's going to happen with it exactly. But I think when it happens, I think, these are some things that might happen along the way that are some of the scarier concerns. And we're not going to address those concerns today, but these are all concerns when you take on and use Microsoft Copilot that might be an issue for you depending on what you train it on. So first of all, there's the privacy and intellectual property issues. I mentioned New York Times is suing OpenAI for copyright infringement. You are going to have job displacement. We've always had job displacement with technology. Sometimes those jobs get replaced with uh, people, fixing and working on that technology and creates new jobs. Sometimes it creates jobs that just never come back. And one of the things that's really kind of scary about the artificial intelligence is it's the kind of job that might go away that's really the knowledge worker type job, the white collar job. We used to always be worried about, oh, we'll get the white collar job, the blue collar jobs can easily be outsourced or shipped overseas or things like that. And what's going to be very interesting in the impact on society is where AI fits in with all of this. There's bias and fairness issues, right? These AIs are just, they're artificial intelligences that we train. So if we train them on information that has any kind of basic built-in bias or fairness issues, guess what? The AI is going to spew things with bias and fairness issues. Security is a whole other world of AI. People are using AI to impersonate you and try and trick your people into, you know, clicking on emails and things like that. Um, but there's just there's what can happen with AI when people use it as a weapon, and that is a whole other world. Transparency. We barely know how our own brains work. Uh, the idea of how these AI black boxes work and what happens when we rely on them and where they, how they generate their results. Where is that coming from? How do they do that? Do we need to know that? Maybe we do. I'm sure that New York Times would want to know if they're taking their information. Accountability. What happens when the AI makes a mistake? What happens when we tell the AI to generate some information, then we use that information to make a decision, and that decision is wrong, or that decision costs lives or dollars? You get societal impacts. There's going to be a whole world of weirdness coming around with AI. I don't know where it all goes, but it's going to be strange, I think. There's just how we talk to AIs. Are we polite? Are we mean to them? The places where AIs are going to show up and the goofiness that's going to be around them because they're not perfect. I mean, it's where jobs are going to be, where they're not going to be. It's just hard to know. We're not going to cover that today, but there's lots of things being written about the future and what people think that might be. So if you're interested, just ask your AI to find you some social impact statements on AI. Government, what's happening with that? Their laws are being passed. In some ways, the toothpaste is out of the tube on this stuff. I mean, you can't stop these AIs per se. I mean, they can create rules and all that, but on the other hand, they need to use them, right? Because on one hand, we want to have responsible artificial intelligence so we don't destroy the world. And on the other hand, we're probably using AIs with our military and how to be a better military and how to anticipate the enemy and how to do better attacks. And so we might be training our military on how to destroy the world, right? So there's a whole world of all of that. And just the existential piece, like I mentioned, it's is there the end of humanity as we know it? Now, does that mean we all go away? I don't know. Maybe we become servants of the AI. Maybe we become augmented by the AI in some way and become a new kind of human being. I'm not sure, but it's definitely going to fundamentally change who we are. I'm pretty convinced about that. There's a book by Ray Kurzweil called The Singularity is Near. When do I think AI is going to take over and be sentient and maybe do something bad? We'll say 2045 if you want a prediction. So we got about 21 years here to get our act together before the singularity happens. That's when AI will probably have had another 20 years, and we'll have quantum computers that are in the early stages of development will be 20 years older. And yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what we'll be dealing with in 20 years, what our kids will be dealing with in 20 years. Take a deep breath on that. Okay. So, but here's the thing. Like I said, the toothpaste is out of the tube. It is baked into everything. Every app you use probably has a new AI button for something. You're hearing every manufacturer, every company when they're talking about what's, in their quarterly results and what they're doing for the next year. They're talking about their AI initiatives. It's being built into everything in one form or another. So just it's not going away. It's not getting and this is kind of a weird thing to say. This is the worst it will ever be, in the sense that as good as it is right now, this is the worst it'll ever be. It only gets better and more powerful from here. What it does and where it goes, we will find out. But in the meantime, Microsoft is baking it into everything, and you guys get the opportunity to use AI for your business. That's why part of why you're here today, maybe to learn a little bit about it, but learn a little about how to use it for your business. How do you bring a little happiness, love, and money to your business using AI? So let's talk about how you could be using AI and what we talk about here. Because we talk about machine learning and the smart devices and that kind of thing. But for today's presentation, I would like you to think about AI as a human being. Think about it like you just got a brand new intern. Think about it like you just got a new assistant. Think about it like you just got a new VP of whatever. Think about it like you need a team around you to come up with ideas, to brainstorm, to come up with how to fix something. Maybe you want, to have a support chat bot that talks to your customers, and it's good enough because 80% of their questions are the same. Maybe you want to double check what you've done. You want to look at it. You want to get another viewpoint. You can have your chat bot, your Copilot, review your document and give you feedback. We'll show you that. So again, think about it like it's a person. Talk to it like it's a person. And by the way, if you're not a good delegator or good at talking to people, you're going to get some funky results with your AI, with your Copilot. Because it really does, the more you can speak to it in clear, direct, actionable language, the better your results you're going to get. But it really does, just think about it like it's a person. Think about it like it's a person. Talk to it like it's a person. How do you get it? So, you got Microsoft 365. I think most of you are probably on that or thinking about it if you're not already. There's some basic plans that are out there for Microsoft 365, the basic plan, the standard plan, the business plan, and the premium plan. And those are all the prices you get for all of that. And, if you're on one of those, classes. But the thing is, you can't get Copilot with everything. So we'll come back to that. I'll show you what that looks like. Something else I want you to know about Microsoft 365 and Copilot, because this gets where it gets weird, is the security around this. Right? You think about it, if you gave an intern access to all your files, all your financial information, everything you made available to that intern, what could they do with that? So you want to start thinking about security. And guess what? You are 100% responsible for your information and data. Microsoft is not responsible for that. That box in the upper left here that I have highlighted in red, this is when you look at Microsoft 365 and what is their terms of service and their shared responsibility model. You're responsible for your data, you're responsible for your devices, you're responsible for your accounts and identities, and also your identity and directory infrastructure. So anything, because Copilot is on everything now. It's on your smartphone, it's in your browser, it's in all your apps. You didn't necessarily ask for it, but it's everywhere now. Um, it's complex. I mean, some of it works really easily out of the box, and I'm going to show you that, but there's a lot to it. There's a lot to 365 in general. And there's some things you want to do to prepare for rolling out Copilot if you haven't tuned your 365 environment. But we can help with security or training, our help desk, our support and administration. Um, and we can help you with data migration and integration and all of that. We're kind of a Swiss Army knife for working with 365 for you. Showing you the Microsoft graph, because again, if you've been to any of our presentations before, that's a slide that comes up a lot and maybe kind of goes through over people's head quite a bit, or they don't, why am I talking about this? Everything you store in Microsoft 365 can all be linked and related and connected. And Microsoft has a technology called the graph, the Microsoft graph. And so when you're searching across things you have stored in 365, your emails, your documents, your spreadsheets, um, the graph powers that search. That graph powers the relationships that exist between those documents. And Copilot leverages that heavily. Now, the good news is you don't have to do much in the background. It just happens. The bad news is if you don't have a lot of security set up on your system, then that graph could be accessible to people that you don't want it to have access to. So that'd be an area for security to look at. Um, Copilot comes in a few different versions, right? Microsoft doesn't just have one. Uh, there is Copilot for the web, which is free, which is nice. And with that, you can chat with Copilot. You can summarize documents and web pages. You can do some image creation that I'm going to show you. It's got some web grounding and plugins. And when you're using it for work, you get Microsoft's commercial data protection, which is some security protections on where the data is scoped and what Microsoft is going to commit to as far as you using their service. There's a Copilot Pro. This is kind of like the individual one. This doesn't really tie into your corporate 365 environment, but if you want to use it on a personal level, you just do the basic Copilot Pro. It's $20 a month. Um, the great one here is the Copilot for Microsoft 365. I'm going to focus on that mostly today in the demo. That's $30 a month per user. And with that, you get Copilot for Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and Outlook. There's Copilot in Teams. You get their enterprise grade data protection. It all uses the Microsoft Graph grounding. We'll talk about grounding means. And you can customize it if you want through the Microsoft Copilot Studio. But here's the thing, you can only add Copilot to business standard and business premium licenses. You can also add it to a couple of the E3 tiers if you have those. But basically you need the one that includes full Office. There's something called Copilot Studio, which is for developers where you can customize and do some things with Copilots. And they even have other Copilots for if you're using Microsoft Dynamics or any other Power Platform, sales, security, they've got these other Copilots available. Yeah, Copilot is per month per user fee. Thank you for the question. So let's see. Uh, let's do a quick poll here. Beyond what you've just learned today, what are you doing with AI? Good mix of you have a basic understanding, unfamiliar, haven't looked at it yet. You've heard about it, but you don't know much about it. You're a little familiar, and a couple of you look like you've been diving in and have a good understanding, and you're looking at how to use it. So you're all in the perfect place today. All in the perfect place. And yeah, and that's you're probably where most of the world is, right? And this is going to change over time as more and more people get used to AI being part of their lives. Let's see. Yeah, 6% of you have a good understanding, 19% are somewhat familiar, and the rest of you have heard a bit or unfamiliar. So, um, Microsoft Copilot for the web, that's one of the tiers of service that Microsoft has. And again, that's the free tier. And you can get that pretty much anywhere. You can download Copilot on your phone. You can open up, if you download Microsoft Edge, if you're an Edge user, you can simply go to copilot.microsoft.com. It used to be known as Bing Chat or Bing Chat Enterprise. So if you see it there, if you see it listed anywhere that way, that's what they're referring to. It's a public service. So you have free AI out there if you want to use it. Um, Now, if you log in with it, if you log in with your Microsoft account, then it'll do some other things like save your chats and provide some additional protections for you that I'll share. But it's available. It's all over the place. You can start using it today for free without signing up for anything. Now, if you sign in for this and you sign in with your Microsoft account, either your work or a personal account, but we're really focusing on the work accounts here for this, Microsoft will add what's called commercial data protection. Their definition is prompts and responses are not saved, meaning what you ask ChatGPT and what it tells you aren't saved. Microsoft doesn't look at it. The free one, Microsoft probably does, because they're going to maybe shoot you ads or use that data for something. And when you enter stuff in, it's not training the underlying models. In the public space, when you're using these public AIs like ChatGPT or some of these, you're actually training out in the public space, which can be a problem if you're training it on corporate data or something like that and putting that out there. So in this case, Microsoft says when you're using it and you're logged in, we provide you with this commercial data protection. Now, Copilot for Microsoft 365 has access to the Microsoft 365 graph, meaning it can see all your organizational data. The free one does not. It doesn't see your spreadsheets. It doesn't see your Word documents and things like that. It only sees what it's been trained on and can look at the current web results. I'll give you a demo of that shortly. You're whetting your appetite for this demo. Something else you want to know, Microsoft has what's called the Customer Copyright Commitment, or the CCC. And that's a provision in their product terms that talks about their obligation to defend you against certain third-party intellectual property claims relating to output content. Meaning, if you use Copilot and you're sued by copyright infringement, Microsoft's going to defend you and pay the amount of any adverse judgments or settlements that result from the lawsuit, as long as the customer has used the guardrails and content filters we have built into our products. So if you use Copilot to write a document that's published and someone sues you for copyright infringement, Microsoft will defend you. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of legalese behind this, but it's one of their competitive advantages. It's one of the things they're saying, hey, why use Copilot versus ChatGPT? Why use Copilot versus Google's AI, their Gemini? So this is one of their compelling reasons. But only when you're logged in with the Microsoft account. So we've talked a bit about AI and what it is, and we've talked about some of the terminology around AI, and now we can kind of piece some of it together. So the Microsoft 365 Copilot, it's your Copilot for work, which by the way is a super cool name that Microsoft came up with. I really like that as a branding name, Copilot. Um, it combines the power of large language models, which we talked a bit about, with your data that's all in the Microsoft Graph that we talked about. And it takes your Microsoft 365 apps, which is Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and it turns them into the most powerful productivity tool on the planet, all for $30 a user per month with a qualifying license. And by the way, that's with a 1-year commitment. So let's get a little more lingo here. So when we talk about it, you know what we're talking about. So a Copilot is Microsoft's artificial intelligence companion. So when someone says, hey, is there a Copilot for that? Did you use a Copilot? There's a word Copilot. What they mean is it's that AI companion. And hopefully in the future, it won't be, another round of attacks as humans die, as Copilot sweep the streets, in 20 years. And we won't be calling them that, but it'd be a good name for that too in the future when the Copilots attack. But anyway, that's what Microsoft calls their AI companions. And it's the service, it's every time you use it, it's every instance of how it operates and integrates. It's the Copilot. Grounding refers to the process of connecting the AI's responses to real world knowledge and information. And it's the context for the Copilot. So what that means is grounding means what data are you really basing it on? If you're using the Microsoft Graph, you'd be grounding it in the Microsoft Graph, meaning all of your documents you have stored in SharePoint and OneDrive and all of the emails you have in all of your mailboxes. You could also ground it in another context. You could say, hey, I'm writing a letter to a business owner. That telling it that I'm writing a letter to a business owner helps frame up the context that it's for a business owner. I could say it's for a small business owner. I could say I want it to be funny. So I'm grounding the requests that I'm making, or I'm grounding the AI in what that knowledge and information is. Most of these AIs people are working with are grounded in just standard languages, standard English or standard foreign language, and then general information. But you're seeing Copilots and or an analog to Copilot, any kind of other web service that uses something similar, and it's grounded in jujitsu, and it's an AI that only knows answers about jujitsu, or it's grounded in pirate talk, and it only knows how to respond in pirate talk. The semantic index, that is a little bit more information about what things are grounded in. And it is, in this case, we're talking about the Microsoft Graph. So the semantic index uses the Microsoft Graph to not just take the bits of information in there, how many times do words show up and dates versus numbers versus things, but to try and add a little more something on top of it, a little more like, really, what is this information? How does it really connect? Oh, these are proposals. What makes it a proposal? These are frequently asked questions documents. What makes it that? And there's a whole lot more into the semantic index piece that we're not going to go into, but it's really the root of all the results you're going to pull, or many of the results you'd want to pull out of using Copilot with your Microsoft 365 environment. Lastly is a prompt, and that's how you interact with the Chat GPT or with the Copilots in most cases. Chat GPT also has a prompt too. We've all used those little chat apps, and with different websites and things to talk to people. It works just like that. Or we've texted to somebody, a friend or family member or something. It works just like that, except on the other side, you're talking to as a Copilot. But how you talk to them and what you request and how you do it is where all the juice lives for you. This is where your skills and abilities show. This is where those first people that understand AI and how to use it are going to get those jobs before they go away and get replaced by an AI, is how to really leverage these prompts. So in Copilot prompts, they've got a couple different categories or groups of prompts. They call it catch up or create or ask or edit or understand. These are things you're going to ask Copilot to do. You're going to give it instructions or questions, and you want to include the goal, the context, your expectations, and if possible, the source. So you can see, for example, the goal. What do you want Copilot to do? I want a list of 3 to 5 bullet points to prepare me for an upcoming meeting with what client, focusing on their current state and what they're looking to achieve. Respond with a tone that's friendly but authoritative, and focus on email and Teams chats with people over the last 2 weeks. So, what's the source? I want you to look at the emails I've sent over the last 2 weeks and the Teams chats I've had with people about this client for the last 2 weeks. That becomes part of my prompt to then give me the information that I want. And the better you get at that, the better you're going to get responses and the more value Copilot is going to have for you. Um, a bit more about, wait, I think I got another poll here. Where's the poll? Polls. All right. I'm going to do one poll after I cover this slide. So now Copilot in many ways is kind of that, could be looked at in some ways as that general, uh, general purpose AI. But in some ways, it's also really a narrow AI, and that's also the way Microsoft has implemented it. So in some cases, you've got that straight up chat feature, but in terms of context of the application, it's got some specific features. So in Copilot in Word, when you've added on the subscription, you now get Copilot icons and features in Word to draft and add content, to rewrite text, to chat with the Copilot, or to create a summary. You also have Copilot in Word on your mobile devices, so you can have it draft content while you're on the road for you. And you can see under each one of these categories, Copilot for PowerPoint has certain features, not everything, and not always the same. So in like PowerPoint, it has a lot more things to help you create your PowerPoint, adding slides. You can do things in Outlook. You can draft a email message. You can summarize an email thread. You can do email coaching. Hey, what does this sound like to you? Am I being mean here? How can I soften this up? Copilot in Excel, Teams, and OneNote. There's other places you can do it here. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of the first few. But there's a lot going on here. Like I said, this is going to be one of those things like for people that were first there when the TV was around. I really think you're going to look back on these things like I was, when AI first really came out on the scene and became part of our world, uh, before 2045 when we all go away. But the in the meantime, let's see, what do you think about what I'm saying so far, and what are your concerns before I get into some demos? Let's take a look here at this poll. What have you heard? What do you think? What concerns do you have? I should have a poll up on your screen. Yep. Data risks. Yep. Reputational risks. It's all over the place, right? There's a lot of concerns around this. And it's really, when you think about it, and again, like I said, treat Copilot like a person. When you think about when you hire somebody and you give them access to your systems, you get a lot of the similar concerns here. Or maybe you don't think about them in the same way, but they're really there in the background. Mostly data risks. All right. Well, let's do a little demo here. Let's show you what some of these things can do and give you a few ideas and show you around a bit. Like I said earlier, Microsoft is baking this into everything, 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 everything. And they're going fast and furious on this stuff. So what I show you today, it might look very different in like a week. You never know. Microsoft changes that stuff a lot. So let me change my share here to a new share. All right. So I'm just going to do this from a web page here. Um, depending on where you have Copilot, you're going to start seeing it show up. But fundamentally, you can just go to copilot.microsoft.com and that'll take you to the Copilot page. But I'm using Microsoft Edge. So I have up in the corner now, I've got my chat button or my Copilot button here where I can click and pin that to the side here if I want. It's the same Copilot stuff, but it's in kind of a different place. So you can get to it from the website. You can get to it anywhere you've got this. I wonder if Microsoft has named this little vortex here. But you anywhere you get to, you see that, you'll have something built in. And like I said, it's going to be everywhere. I mean, anything you have that's Microsoft, you're going to have some kind of Copilot built into it. And whether it's, some level of the free, and then, depending on what you paid for, some additional features and things like that. So right now, I'm at the basic Copilot site here, and I see two things because I'm logged in. I see Copilot, I've got a web, and I've got a Copilot for the work. I'm going to start with Copilot for the web, which means in this case, I'm using Copilot as an AI companion, but I'm not using my local data or any of the Tobin's company data to inform its responses unless it's something that's already publicly available for the web. So they give you some examples of things here. Remember we talked about prompts? These are different prompts they give. Write a joke about my coworkers that my coworkers would find funny. What percentage of my taxes should I withhold from my paycheck? So you can do any kinds of things. You can chat back and forth here. I want to do something really important here. So I want to say, write an opening scene for a lost episode of Gilligan's Island where they really do get off the island. Sun shines brightly. So there you go. You can see it just wrote an episode of Gilligan's Island. I don't know if it's going to be a great episode. I grew up watching Gilligan's Island. I'm not sure how many of them are still great episodes if I went and looked, but this could be an episode, right? Or the start of an episode. And this is what has people scared in some ways because this is like what part of the Hollywood writer's strike and things like that. I could take this and I could say, now do this in the voice of some famous writer, some famous movie writer or something like that. I don't know any writers off the top of my head, but you could do that. And this is what's called generative AI using a large language model. So I asked it a question, write an opening scene for a lost episode, and it used all the information it captured out in the world because Microsoft trained its Copilot on all the information of the world that's available, including obviously information such as important as Gilligan's Island. And now I'm able to use that information and bring it in here. That's an example of generative AI with generating text. Now, if I want, again, though, I'm chatting with this, and I could say, you know, uh, add a talking parrot to the story. And now it's going to rewrite it. Let's see if it adds the talking parrot in there somewhere. Parrot, ahoy, mateys. You thought you'd seen the last of me, huh? A talking parrot? How delightful. So notice, now again, I talk about treating this like it's a person. So if you had an intern in your office, if you had someone in your office you were delegating something to, you would say, hey, this is what I want. And they'd say maybe back, is this what you want? And you'd say, yeah, that's close, but also give me this. So you can chat back and forth with it. You can ask it questions. You can, I can say, what's Polly's backstory? It's prompting me for things. I don't even, I just made up Polly here. It added Polly. It's making this up from what I have no idea. It could be picking up from any parrot book that was out there, any of the movies that deal with parrots, our mythology about parrots. We always have parrots and pirates, as a thing. Shows up in a lot of literature. Now let's see this. Um, Make me an image of Polly leaving the island. Whoop, now what's it doing? That's image generator generated by a program they have called Dolly, like Wally, Dolly. And it's going to generate some images here. Oh, it thinks Polly is a lady in a hat, in a dress, but she's leaving the island. That's not bad. Let's say make, let's see, we can ask it here. So here's where it gets. I turn Polly into a parrot. Let's see what it does. We'll see if it's Polly wearing a parrot wearing a hat. And this is where the prompting stuff gets kind of fun. And this is where you can burn a whole day. You can have a lot of fun with these generative AI tools. And this is all just with the free one. There we go. That's looking a little better. There's Polly. Now, if I want that, I can take that, copy it, and paste it into whatever I've got. And Microsoft is going to indemnify me for any copyright infringement or anything like that. And I now have completely, I don't have to worry about having Creative Commons licenses or any of that kind of stuff. What do they call that with them? The protected art, when someone has digital rights on things, you don't have to pay for that kind of stuff, the rights, the permissions. So this is generative AI. They've got generative AI for songs, for movies. I could say, make it photorealistic. Let's see what it does. Hmm. Photorealistic image of Polly the parrot leaving the island. Got this protected up here. That's that um, protection I was telling you about that Microsoft provides when you're logged in as a user. So when you got that green check mark, that's what's happening there. Microsoft isn't saving this or doing anything with this information. Oh, that's a little better. I don't know if that's really photorealistic. It's not bad. So you can play around with it. So that's Copilot is just the general Copilot chat. You can ask it anything, talk to about anything, do whatever you want there. You want to do a new one. You should also be using this new topic feature because the Copilots can get confused if you start mixing questions around new things. So if you wanted a new topic, you would say, hey, I got a brand new topic and we're going to kind of start from scratch here. Now, what you've also got though is this one on the work. Now what this is doing is it's got Copilot for Microsoft 365. And now I can go in and ask it about stuff I've got in my system here. So uh, I created a fictitious Project Pegasus at our company. So I can say, show me recent information on Project Pegasus. Project Pegasus, I created some documents and put those in our SharePoint site. I sent some emails about Project Pegasus. There really is no Project Pegasus that we have here, but I created a fake P&L statement. Started with a PowerPoint here, a business plan. And look at this, it's got links to everything. So I created this pro forma for Project Pegasus. If I click on that, it then takes me to the spreadsheet. Kind of a weird spreadsheet I put together, but takes me to that. I can see the references down here. Oh, there's a business plan for Project Pegasus. Oh, that's interesting. How about summarize the business plan for Project Pegasus? Not summary, summarize. Summarize the business plan for Project. Let's see what it does there. So it's going through that document for me. So if I was new to the company and I was now, being handed Project Pegasus, I could use some of this to go see what it's going to do. When you're done, you can copy it. You can say if you like it or don't like it to help train it. But all of these things are live links. So if I go to here, I can take that. It not only takes me to the document, I think it takes me right. Where is that? Well, I think if I do it from inside the document, it'll actually take me right to that section in there. But this is that whole document, that project plan or that business plan. So it took all of this and gave me the summary. So it's using, so I've used the prompt here and I've grounded it into our Microsoft 365 SharePoint and OneDrive and email information and all that. And so now I can use all that as part of what I've got. You also have plugins. That's another thing that comes with this. So if you want to incorporate things from the web into this results, you can do that. That's another thing you can get with the paid versions of Copilot, is the ability to use their plugins. So it grabs web content using Bing. Nice to use Google, but it uses Bing, but it's not bad. So that's an example of how you can use the Copilot work. I can take that and I can say, okay, great. Now I've got what I need here. So that's one way you can use Copilot. Oh, we got just a couple of minutes left. Holy cow, and I'm way behind here. I just want to show you. Let's show you Copilot in Excel. So if you go to Copilot in Excel, you hit the Copilot button. First, it says everything is grayed out. You have to have your Excel be in an Excel table. So once I click in here, now I can do this. Now I've got information on here based on my data. I can say, what are the total sales for the central region? And we wait while it analyzes, and we don't know if it even understands what I'm asking yet. Let's find out. All right, so it added up the total. Tails for the total central region are $11,139. And I can say add that to a new sheet, and it puts it on here, and here's my total. I could say highlight all sales by Morgan. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. If you guys can stick around, I'll go for another couple minutes. Apologize, we went long. There will be a copy of the video, or of if you send fill out our survey that you get, ask us how we're doing. Look at that. Look at that highlighted Morgan sales in there. Apply to yellow, and it even tells you what it's done. I applied a yellow fill color and black font color to the column rep that contains Morgan. So now I can see all of Morgan's stuff. So it's kind of powerful, right? And you can talk to it, you've got all kinds of prompts you can add here. You can click the little prompt button and it gives you ideas of types of prompts you can use, understand, edit, ask. Can even tell you how to do things in Excel. If you're in Microsoft Word, this is Microsoft Word, you've got a built-in draft with Copilot function. Create a summary of recent emails regarding, actually, I don't know if this will work from here. Project, let's see. Do that. Whoop, that got the wrong Project Pegasus. That grabbed something from the internet. It must be Project Pegasus for some other security thing. So that's where it got it wrong. That's an example. So there I would need to give it more. What was wrong was I didn't ground it in that document properly. And if I had grounded it in that document, I could go back and do that. So I can say, let's scratch that. And I could say, create summary from the document Pegasus. Let's see, does that show up there? So in this case, I grounded it in that document. Gave it a little guidance, and then we'll see what it does. There we go. Artificial intelligence to enhance the customer experience. So it goes through and pulls that together. Now, whether it's right or not, does it get you 80% there and you can go polish off the rest? By the way, check your results. Microsoft has constant disclaimers over the information that's in there, that it might not be accurate, might not be current, you shouldn't rely on it. Disclaimers all over. So, I'm sure the world's going to be filled with lots of, it already is filled with people where you can see where they tried to use ChatGPT or Copilot or something and had a big public fail pretending it was them that was being so smart when they were just using that. So anyway, you get some of that and you can use it in something like PowerPoint. I can say, here's PowerPoint. I can go into Copilot. And I can say, create a presentation from the business plan. Someone's asking about Copilot for MS Access. I have no idea, but probably. I'm sure if it's not there, it's going to be there soon. And there are ways, even if they haven't built it for it yet, where you can extend and create your own Copilots and do things like that. So that's funny, Access. That'd be a good place. So lots of good data in there to ask it about. So it's generating the slides. It's taking way too long. Holy cow. It's taking me hours. ChatGPT is going to do it in a few minutes, a few seconds. Getting there. And that'll be the last part of our demo. While we're waiting for that, I'll just thank you all for being here. Thank you for your questions. Uh, Appreciate all the feedback you provide today and when you get that survey, and let us know ideas and things, and let us know if we can help you with Copilot, if you'd like us to help you get it, if you want to see how to use it in your company, if you want to try it out as a pilot project, no pun intended, we can help you with Copilot. So let's see, it's looking things over. It's almost there. The anticipation is crazy. What's it going to do? Almost there. One of those things you hope it doesn't air out at the end. What's it going to do? It's very exciting. 25 of you are still hanging out to see what it does. Is it going to be there? It did it before when I was prepping it for the demo. Hmm. Hello. Something went wrong. Come on, Copilot. Let's try that again. Try one more time. Things over. Oh, still looking for the file. Come on, you can do it. Apparently, these copilots are extremely computationally complex. Lots and lots of you can picture lots and lots of computers going crazy with all these requests for business plans and talking like a pirate and 33%. Getting there. Thanks, James. Looks like 24 of you are hanging out. What's it gonna do? I need to have this like the cake coming out of the oven. Like now we put it in and we wait 45 minutes, bing, and we take it out of the oven. Let's see. Yep, just may not be kind of pokey today. It's one of those things that people are talking about, when you get a lot of adoption on these things. I don't know why it's not working now, if it's a resource issue or, it's just taking time or it's ever going to show up here. But lots and lots of people starting to use this very computationally intense product. Hopefully Microsoft has the scalability to make this work and have it be reliable. And otherwise, oh, there it goes. Hey, ta-da, we got a business plan. Look at that. Got a title page, an agenda, grab some stuff from the summary, made us a little chart. That's pretty nice. I don't think that was in the document. So it created a chart for us, broke it down by product, took our financial presentation projection and made a nice little table. Not bad, right? I mean, you might want to go through here, put a nice little graphic at the end, shaking hands. So, does this get you 80% there, 90% there, 10% there? I don't know, but it gets you a start. It gets you something to get going from. Certainly, it's uh, uh, a lot of times getting the work done, the first place is just to get started. And once you get started, you can get rolling. So maybe Copilot is just the thing that gets you rolling. So anyway, that is our presentation today. Thank you for the extra 10 minutes. I appreciate you all and have a wonderful day.